Let's try that again. Welcome to the Stratosphere Lounge. I'm your host, Bill Whittle. Hopefully, I should be sounding good. I swapped out the microphone for a real one, so we're just gonna go with that. Um, so everybody can hear me okay, I suppose. I hope. Let's just double check this thing because it's always a little tough. Um, okay, so here we are. It's the 12th of January, 2023. Oh, good. It sounds better. Yeah, it was. It's a real mic. So, yeah, I even hit the record button. So, just what a strange world. Hang on one second. Yes, we're recording as well. Um, so I don't know any way really to cover this up. I just got gobsmacked with just I just plain gobsmacked earlier today, and I can't talk about it, but I can't also pretend to be chipper. I would have rescheduled the show, but I've rescheduled the show more often than I've had it on time, actually. So I just thought I would come on the show and just kind of soldier through the questions, give us a chance to catch up, and then I will, you know, then I will go home, I guess. Uh, and I'm sorry to be so mysterious, but I just didn't want everybody to think I was just in a surly mood for no reason. It was really, really something. Okay, so why don't we just for once get ourselves right to the questions and see what we can figure out about that. Let's start with BillWhittle.com and then we'll try and get to the Facebook ones as well. Come on now. Here you are. Hang on. Oh, if for the regular members, there've been some irregularities with the posting of the website. A couple of mistakes. Yeah, thank you guys, but no, this one's going to have to do on my own. And the newsletter and so on, uh, and and that's because I've been doing them lately, and so that's all me. Let me get to these questions here, and we'll see what we can do. I'm probably gonna have to wear my glasses for most of this time to stop screwing around. I might. There's no current forum. Hmm. Uh, Sorry about the delay. Let's see what we got here. Hmm. Okay. That's probably something I missed as well. So let's do this. Let's go to the Facebook page. And I had thought that that was something that members could initiate, but I guess I was wrong about that. So we'll go to Facebook, and then we'll get to last questions, and we'll take it from there. All right, let's see what we got here. Can that be right? Oh, here we go. Okay, good. So we'll just knock these out first, and then we'll do last week's and see if we can get caught up a little bit. Let's see from Facebook, starting with Jim Samples. Bill, a few weeks ago we talked about what to do with nuclear waste, and the consensus seemed to be that there was no way to properly store it or throw it away. But I think we forgot SpaceX and their escape capsule feature in case of a failed launch. There was no such feature in the past. That was the argument for not sending this waste into the sun. If this feature is safe enough to save humans, then it's certainly safe enough to protect depleted fuel. I'm sure Musk or Bezos would jump on the government contract to fill it up with capsules and boost them in the right direction. Jim, I don't normally just openly disagree about things, but I just see so many problems with that idea. Um, First of all, you have better things to do um, with space launches than lift depleted uranium. Secondly, if they yeah, there are more firewalls coming, and I'm getting on all of that. Uh, it's So there's that. Also, you can make a craft human rated, but even a catastrophe like losing a Dragon capsule would be nothing compared to what would happen if you had some kind of launch failure and distributed spent nuclear fuel out over the Gulf Stream. That would just be the worst imaginable thing. It'd be worse than the loss of 7 people, and nothing is. I just can't see any reason to do it. The main point is that you don't need to do it, right? I mean, burying it underground, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a simple, easy solution, and uh, and what would probably be safe. Well, anything I think would be safer than putting it on a rocket. But even if you didn't like the idea of burying it underground, the only thing I could think of that would be even remotely close is you wrap this thing in a gigantic concrete capsule and drop it into one of the subduction zones on the ocean floor where the plates are coming down. The Atlantic is widening, and obviously those plates are descending in certain areas. You could put it there, but honestly, you just bury it at Yucca Flats. It's no. The only problem I've ever heard with that was that somebody would say, "Well, somebody in the future might, discover it 100,000 years from now." That's not our problem. Um, this cult of safety and this, if there's any possible way that something could go wrong, then we just don't do it. Then it's just you. Well, this is what they want, because if you make it impossible to do anything because it's not perfectly safe, then you've got a stagnant society that's utterly dependent on its ruling class, and that's what the socialists want. So that seems to be it. Bob Knife, in episode 59, you answered the question women. Any updates to this question from the last 8 years? None that I can think of. Um, Eric Blake, hey, peace and long life, image of Bill Whittle. Live long and prosper, Blake. So, in a, increasingly less recent episode, you went into a couple of Irish jokes, and I thought the second, more clean joke, the father looking for a parking space, that would be an interesting kickoff for a virtue signal episode. Reason being, the joke's theme of failing to give God credit is a sad pattern among far too many Christians in the Western world, Irish or not, and dealing with first world problems, things that would have a lot to talk about with that. It's a good idea. I don't think I have a topic for it. We were going to shoot that today. I had to push it back to tomorrow. So yeah, that's actually kind of an interesting topic. Unless something really radically, got to talk about it today thing comes up, then we will. I'll see if I can remember to do that. So that sounds like a great idea. Let's see, Steve Young. In light of the Brandon classified documents story, could you please retell your "Is Hillary Guilty" story about the National Records Act in United States Code 18? The classification of the documents means nothing. Just having possessions is a felony offense, and it's impeachable. Uh, One of the first indications that we were living in a post-truth era and a post-law era was when it became clear that Hillary Clinton had used her own personal email server. Um, and there are two laws on the books concerning documents. One of them, I don't have the exact code. Somebody can look it up, but it's out there. But basically, it says this. It says that if you do not return all official records to the government when you're finished, that's a felony punishable by 5 years in prison and some kind of fine. If are discovered to have altered, tried to erase, tried to tamper with, cover up, or anything like that. In other words, the first one's if you make an innocent mistake. Second one is if it turns out that you are in fact doing this intentionally, and it can be proven that you tried to erase the disk, let's say, kind of wipe it with a cloth or something like that, then that is a second felony, and that one is punishable by same period in prison and a fine. But that one has specifically built into the law that if you're guilty of that second offense, that of trying to alter something, then then you are specifically by statute banned from ever holding any position in the United States government again. Period. Might be 3 years. I said five, might be three. So when the thing with Hillary Clinton's email servers started coming up, and everybody was saying, "Well, it's not classified." I said, "It doesn't matter if it's classified." Well, this wasn't a big deal. Wasn't a big deal. It doesn't. It wasn't that many. It doesn't matter either, right? So she's guilty of the first one, and looks like Brandon is, and maybe Trump is too. I don't know. But whatever presidential privilege applies to presidents, and there is some because they have to construct their presidential library and so on. So to the degree that whatever protection Donald Trump or President Brandon might have certainly did not apply to the Secretary of State. So once she admitted that there were emails, state business emails that she was doing on her own server, then that's the first one. And once it became clear that there had been attempts to erase those files, that was the second one. And it's a very simple statute. It's not complicated. It doesn't say intent. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't say, well, you got to prove that she meant to. No, it doesn't say that. It's just the law. It's a law, and it's right there, and it's got the legal code number and everything. And so there's no question whatsoever that she violated that code. And so there it is. And so this whole Comey thing, no reasonable prosecutor would take the case, is just it's another flat out lie. It's not even a slam dunk. A slam dunk implies at least you have to have some ability in slamming and dunking. This is an automatic conviction. There's no question about it. Period. Right? None that she took these things home. None that she had her own server. None that she tried to erase them. Period. So no, they just ignored it. They just ignored it, and that is when I realized that we were living in a world where there are two justice systems, one for our rulers and one for the plebes. I saw something last night, just kind of randomly, in the recent Arizona election, which was totally fair and completely transparent. Maricopa County was still trying to count their votes 2 weeks after the election. And there was another county, I don't remember the name, but it'll show up real soon in the comment section here. There was a separate county, a rural county, low population county, and they refused to certify their votes because they said, if we certify our votes for our county, then that means we're agreeing with the system, and we don't have any confidence in what's going on in Maricopa County. And since Maricopa County is so much of the total vote, if they're not sure of the accounts, then we're not going to certify ours. If we certify ours, it's just the same as saying, yeah, whatever they did in Maricopa County is fine with us, which I thought was a profoundly good and fully constitutional, understandable, and as it turns out, brave situation. And then last night, I saw a video of the county commissioner saying, this is pretty much verbatim. He says, I am voting to certify the votes for our county, and I am voting to do this under duress and also, I guess, under duress. He said, the reason that I am going to certify these votes is because I have been informed that if I don't, that will put me in felony violation of law, federal law, and I will go to prison and I have to support my family, so I'm going to support these votes. What do you say about that, you know? What do you say? What can you say about that? You've got a public servant basically, not basically saying, I am being strong armed under threat of imprisonment to agree to something that I don't agree to do and that I have every right not to do. But if I don't do it, then big, powerful federal forces are gonna crucify me and my family. So there you go. Now you were starting to get to sic semper tyrannis time when you get that kind of thing. You know, really. I also saw that another separate video that in California now apparently they've passed a law. Gavin Newsom has been pushing it through that says that you can that kids in California have a right to gender reassignment surgery. That the parents that even if both parents disagree, then it doesn't matter. If the child asks for it, then they get it. And if you argue about that, they send you to a dungeon. So, yep. Let's see. Sorry. Lutheran Carnivore says, I predict that the rhinos in Congress will not bring impeachment charges against Biden. McCarthy isn't going to bring those charges. I don't see it. If they don't, then what does the I mean, what does it all mean anymore, right? I mean, the two impeachment efforts against Donald Trump were fabricated by the FBI, and this one, a potential one against Joe Biden, has hard evidence and acres of it. So no, we don't. If you are a Democrat, you can do whatever you want to. You can get elected if you've got brain damage. You can be elected if you don't know what day it is. You can be elected if you commit crimes. You can be elected of anything. You can do anything you want to and be elected. If, on the other hand, you're a Republican, the law will be used against you in every single manner possible. If you're a Democrat, then not only will the law not be enforced against you, the law will be enforced against the people who are trying to make you obey the law. That's the world we live in now. There's no question about it. It's not up for discussion. It's not fevered pitched imagination. It's not conspiracy theories. That's what happened in Arizona. That's what happens in California. And you just have to ask yourself, if this really were not a coup attempt, not even just an attempt, if everything really was as innocent as some people believe it is, then you would have to ask yourself, why do they have a problem with this? Right? In other words, if the vote in Maricopa County is as fair and as transparent as they claim it is, why would they have to threaten this guy with prison? Why couldn't they simply just show him the procedure? Right? He knows what the procedure is. He's the one who's refusing to certify his county. So if he's not happy with what's going on in Maricopa County, then why doesn't he simply just why don't the people who are threatening him, if they're innocent, if this isn't really ridiculously obvious, then why don't they simply just say, "Oh, I'm sorry about the confusion. Come on down. We'll show you exactly how we came to these numbers." They don't do it, right? They don't do it. And so, what do you do if you live in Arizona? What do you do if you live in California? I mean, Florida is Texas has always been a bastion, and now Florida shows that you can turn a purple state into a conservative bastion if you if you really are determined to do it. You've got political courage and you're ready to do the ground game and work with people. It's not just DeSantis winning big; it's that Florida's just gone solidly red. Florida, after the 2000 debacle, is the third or fourth most populous state. Counts their votes within an hour or so after the polls close. You get a reliable result that nobody's challenging. Nobody, right? Um, and so there you go. Um, thank you, Republic Studs. Um, uh, if you can ask me that question again, I'm just a little off my feed tonight. The only thing that we have going for us now, uh, and it's it's a valuable ally. Um, we do have reality on our side. Um, just one second. Um, and what I mean by that is, right now the current battle space is um, the line front line is the trans movement. That's that's the hill that we're fighting on now. California has basically said, if your child comes to us and says, "I feel like a girl today," then we will put them on puberty blockers or female hormones, and we'll start to prepare to do the surgeries at no cost to the child, even if both parents object to that. Okay, that's what control of all the media and all of the brainwashing and all the rest of it. That's what gets you. What it doesn't get you is, um, it doesn't get you reality. This is the only hope really that we have left, and this is why America was so successful in the first place. It was based on reality. So, um, what that means is there's going to be large numbers of kids who are now going through what a small handful of people have gone through, which is, I either was over 18 and made a bad decision to transition and I want to transition back, but you can never transition back. Or people basically, transitioned for them. Those people are going to eventually get old enough to be miserable. And then they're going to start asking their parents some questions, I would assume. Although I don't expect they're going to get much of an answer. Any parent who has a little boy who says, And by the way, when you look at these people on TikTok, these parents of trans kids, it's like I don't know if you've seen it. I would get it, but I don't want the dead air and another copyright issue. But there's a famous video out there with this woman, and she's saying that her dog is a vegan, that the dog loves salads, that it prefers salads to meat. And she's serious, it's not a joke. So she's talking about how much she just how proud she is of her dog making this moral decision to be a vegan and to eat vegetables and not eat meat. And she's going to prove it to us. So she's put down a lovely, and this is how she describes it. I've put down here a lovely salad, just a lovely, delicious, vegan salad. And also over here, I've put down some of this mucky, horrible, dead meat dog food thing. So, so let's bring out Fluffy and watch what happens. So she brings out Fluffy. She got the dog between her knees. She says, "All right, Fluffy, which one? No, bad dog." And before she can even finish the sentence, the dog is chomping up the dog food, chomping up. And she's going, "No, no, 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 bad dog. Look, here's the salad. Here's the salad." And the dog's looking at the salad. And she's practically got her head on the dog. And she's like, "No, this is the salad. Look, it's good. It's delicious salad." And then the dog goes back to the dog food again, right? And it's hilarious if you're not the dog. But my point is that there was never a point where that dog was given a choice between dog food and salads until that moment. So for this woman to say that her dog was vegan was for her to say that I have made it impossible for this dog to make a choice that I don't like. And every time I see these transparents, this is exactly transparents. That's an interesting play on words. When I see these transparents, it's the same thing. Oh, my George decided that he was a girl when he was 7. Did he? Did he? Or or did the whole idea of being like an extra special kind of parent, transparent, uh, was that so appealing to you that you put dresses in front of him and you said, well, did you do this? And when he started wearing dresses, what was your response to that? Did you tell him this isn't right for you? Boys don't wear dresses, or did you tell him, "Oh my God, you look fabulous in this"? This idea that these kids are making decisions without forget even forget even awareness. To say that they're making decisions without coercion is just plain wrong. And I saw one woman who said, "I'm the mother of 3 and all 3 of my kids are trans." No, 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 they're not. Nobody has those kind of odds, right? In terms of gender dysphoria, nobody has those kind of odds. Your 3 kids are trans because you forced them to be trans, not because you allowed them to be, because you forced them. You didn't give them any other alternative. You rewarded them for anything that was trans behavior, and you punished them for anything that wasn't. So now you've got your little 6-year-old drag queen, and he's strutting down the stage, and everybody's applauding, and he's snapping his fingers in the air, and he's famous, and he's got all these followers and all this other stuff, and and reality is going to catch up to that kid. It's going to catch up to him, and it's going to catch up to all the rest of these people, and reality is going to catch up to what happens when you keep printing money. And reality is going to catch up on all of this stuff. Um, all of these teachers I see on TikTok, every time I see a person with green hair and a ring through their nose, they are teaching our kids. How did that happen? How did that happen? I cannot believe how many degenerates are employed in education. It seems like that's all. That seems like the only job they get, the only job they can get. And furthermore, I constantly talk these. Oh, my kids, my kids, my kids. I care about my kids. See, the problem is, this Florida law is awful. It's just awful. It's going to cause people to commit suicide because my kids don't feel safe coming out with their parents. They only feel safe with me. And that's why I tell them all about my boyfriend and or my girlfriend and why I'm not a boy or a girl and all, on and on and on and on and on. And it's like they're not your kids. You are bonding to them because you can't have kids, but the in, what I'm getting at it is that the maternal instinct or the paternal instinct has been so subverted by their ideology and by their headspace that they are utterly convinced that having kids is a bad idea. Now, some of them are genuinely homosexual. Okay, that's fine. But the idea that you would have kids is well, that's a why would you have a kid? It's a chance to deny yourself an abortion, right? I mean, that's how they look at these things. Okay, so those instincts are still there, and they treat their kids as if the classroom kids as if they're their kids, and they will come out and say it. They're not shy about it. They're not shy about it. Our kids, my kids, come to me with their trans issues when they can't go and face them at home. Maybe your fifth grader or third grader is just looking for some attention because you can't be a transsexual until you are a sexual, right? The entire the fact that we're having this discussion in the first place is an indication that the whole idea is just batshit crazy. You can't be a transsexual or a homosexual or a heterosexual until you're a sexual, and you're not a sexual until you hit puberty. It's just not there, and for them to and so now they're saying we're going to postpone the natural hormones that would sort all this out for you, uh, so that you can continue to be, playing this game in their head. And when I said when I said that the truth is going to catch up to these people, I mentioned this briefly in passing. It bears mentioning again. What is the end game? Forget about the politics. I have plenty good ideas of why they're being promoted this hard. But what about the end game? If you are a person who's all excited about being trans, you go through the hormone therapy and the surgeries and all that, what is it that you want? What is it that you want? Let's take a biological male who's decided that he's trapped in a male's body and wants to be a woman. So he takes estrogen and other hormones, suppresses his testosterone down to zero, starts to develop a softer looking face, and then after a year or two, whatever, goes in, has the top surgery, has the bottom surgery, right? And they manufacture something because plastic surgery is you know impressive to a degree. But here's my point. What is it that they think they're going to get? As far as I can tell, and it's always difficult to to understand because the goalposts are moving so fast with them. But from I've seen quite a few videos thanks to Odin's Men, and what I believe to be the case is that these individuals, in this case we're going to say a biological male who wants to go through the whole way and transition into a woman. First thing they do is they insist that they are absolutely real women. The idea that they're not real women is anathema to them. They insist that they're real women, and they insist that they can have periods and all the rest of it. Okay, all right. What is it that they want? What do they want? The only way I can understand their motivation is that these men want to be, they want male partners as gay men would, but they want male partners as a woman. They want to be women for men, right? That's what they want. They're males. They're not interested in females in terms of being sexually attracted to them, but they are very attracted to the idea of womanhood for whatever reason. And so they want to have long-term relationships, long-term sexual relationships with heterosexual males. That is for certain. That's what they want. They want to be dated by and married to heterosexual males, straight males. That's what they're interested in. And you can hear them again and again and again and again and again trying to talk you into it, right? If you're not willing to date a trans woman, then you're transphobic. Well, then get me a T-shirt then, right? And they will continue to up the political pressure under the assumption that this is something that they can get, because now we're really onto it, right? These people have gotten, this generation has gotten everything they ever did a temper tantrum for, they've gotten. And they only thing they know how to do is if they cry and scream loud enough, then people will basically back down and give them what they want. And right now, we are in the stage where they are crying and screaming about how they want to be treated as women. And a big part of that is their demand, not their request, their demand that they be treated by straight men exactly the way that straight men would treat women. And I'm talking about they are so psychotic that there are many of them who are saying, just because I'm a woman with a penis doesn't mean that a straight man shouldn't be attracted to me. That man's a horrible bigot. Again, you just get me the T-shirt as well. I'll wear that one too. So you see where I'm going with this? There is no success for them. There is none. They're not going to get it. They have seen what temper tantrums will do, and they've seen what peer pressure will do, and they've seen all of the social engineering that's going on, and so on and so on and so on. But the one thing they will not get, because they're the ones who claim it themselves. They claim they're born this way. Okay, straight men are born that way too. So are straight women, um, and and so are gay men, and so are gay women, and that's the argument. And so they are trying to talk you into their mental illness. Super chat from Dwayne Winether. It's an interesting name. You also have men that want to be lesbians. It never works out. Yeah. So I mean, just grant them, right? Just grant them everything. Just this is the quickest way to shoot down nutty ideas, just to grant it. Okay, we'll call you she, he, or she, her, or we'll call you whatever pronouns you want, and we'll all agree that you are absolutely women. That there's no difference between you and people who were assigned women at birth. We'll give you that too, and we'll give you the bottom surgery or lack of the bottom surgery or the top surgery. It doesn't matter as long as you declare that you're a woman and you are feel a woman, then you are a woman just by simply declaring it. I'll grant you all of that. You are never going to talk straight men into dating you. It is never going to happen. You will never get what you want. Ever. Ever get what you want. And this is why people with this problem previously have been treated for having a mental illness, because that's what it is. There is no way out there. This is that they really do seem to think that they can talk their way into, or pressure their way into, making straight men date them, fall in love with them, because they're women, because the trans woman's a woman. And they think that somehow by calling straight men transphobic, this will be enough to set them up. It won't be enough. Ever. Ever. It will never, ever happen. So what's happening is there's two things I'm watching now out there on TikTok. Again, because, yeah, there you go. I don't know if I want to repeat that, King of Cleans, but that's exactly right. It's brilliant comment there. So this is where they will hit the wall. And now there's somebody else that's hitting the wall of reality. And I'm seeing a lot of these TikTok videos, and God bless JT or JC, because he watches this stuff so we don't have to. The other thing I'm seeing is what's the best way to put this? You're starting to see, the whole theme of this little rant here is they control all of the mind control elements, but they can't control reality. They think they can. They think they can control biology, but they can't. And what we're seeing more and more and more of now on TikTok are these women who are 40 years old and they're just sitting in their car in a parking lot crying because they got everything they were told they should want. They're strong and stunning and brave, and they have $200,000 a year incomes. They've got their own place, pay their own bills, don't need no man for anything. And they find themselves 40 years old, and they can't seem to find anybody who wants to be married to them because they're so hard. If anybody can tell me where to find this, if they can send me a link to it, I would really appreciate it. And by the way, thank you, Decline Management, for that super chat. I saw a clip. I don't know what it was from. It was from a TV show. I just saw it. And it is the most dreadfully accurate, honest, realistic thing that I've ever seen in 20 years on TV. I don't have it to show you, but maybe somebody's seen it and they can pass it on to me, because I wish I knew where it was. Lisa Marie Presley passed away from cardiac arrest. Is that right? I'm sorry to interrupt. Yep. I've one thing I've noticed, gang. You probably noticed this too. Is that the number of people who are trim, in good health, best medicine money can buy, dropping dead of heart attacks at age 54. Nothing to see here. 54 years old, rich, famous, best medical care on the planet, best food on the planet, undoubtedly had personal trainers. Just another one of those young people keeling over from heart attacks, right? Nothing to see here. This is reality, by the way. This is our look. I had a conversation with this on the last right angle, or backstage or something. But basically, oh no, I'm sorry, might have been Virtue Signal. Listen, we are fighting to protect these people from their own policies, right? They're enforcing them on us, but really the reason we're fighting them is so that they because they're too stupid to see what's going on. They're too blinded by this endless ideology, and so the number of people, young people, who are just going to suddenly, just out of the blue, have heart attacks is going to increase. And it's going to keep going. And it's going to keep going until somebody close to the people who've been backing this kind of thing actually happens. And over time, that will be enough of a shock to shock them out of reality. Over time, kids who've been transitioned at age 13 or 16 or whatever will want to know why they're sterile, why they're not happy after being promised that this would do it, why they're stuck in the middle. They're not men or women. They can't go back. They can't. They're gonna hit that wall of reality, and they're gonna want to know why this was foisted on them. And right now, you're seeing these feminist women who are breaking down in tears because they don't have any husbands, they don't have any families, don't have any kids. I don't know what's the matter. Well, you voted for it. You are the victim of what you voted for. This is what you wanted. This is what you were sold anyway. So maybe it's what your parents wanted. Okay, but let me get back to this clip I was mentioning. It's a couple that have been married for a while, and they're in their final days. You can tell there's just this bitterness and this anger, and the clip I saw is this woman confronting her husband, probably soon to be ex-husband, about the fact that he is now seeing somebody else. And she's as angry as she can be. And she says, "So what is it? Is she younger than me? Is she prettier than me? Is she in better shape than me? Is that it?" And the husband says, "No. No. I'm with her because she doesn't yell at me all the time. I'm with her because she doesn't treat me like an idiot. I'm with her because she shows me some respect and some appreciation for the work that I do. I'm with her because she's not hard. She's not constantly angry. That's why I'm with her." And I thought, my God, who the hell wrote that? You know, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And this is the thing they don't understand. And so you're getting this thing called passport bros, right? Passport bros. Their men are just going overseas looking for wives overseas because they're women, right? They're female, they're feminine. Conservatives don't have this problem. That's why we're happier than they are. Conservative women don't think it's degrading to be married. They don't think it's degrading to raise kids or be a stay-at-home mom. And many conservative women obviously have careers as well. But conservative women don't have this problem. But these people do. And this is why you get feminist writers writing characters like Admiral Holdo on Star Wars, or that other woman on Picard, which I'm not even going to mention, being ST, because it's just not. They think that being a man being a leader is you will do what I tell you. You will follow my orders. It's like, you haven't got the faintest idea what men are about, or how or why they work. So George says that's why companion robots will be a problem, and kids born today are probably going to have to deal with them when they're older. Yep. But, and this is why we just have to hang on, gang. There's just no way for us to we can't talk our way out of this. We can't explain our way out of it. We can't keep putting the truth in front of people and expecting them to listen. They won't listen. Their minds have been surgically closed and cauterized. And the only thing that's going to get through to them is their own internal pain. They're going to have to hit their own bottom. And that is going to be unpleasant. But every day, every day, more and more of these left-wing women. These are the people who vote for these policies, by the way. Black families, Hispanic families, they're generally more conservative than white conservative families. It's single women that have voted all of this stuff into play. And they're the ones who are most miserable right now. And as they get older and older and older, they're going to get more and more and more miserable. They're going to find out that the cat is not really my baby. It's not really my baby. It's your cat. It's lovely to have a cat. I love my cats, but I don't consider my children. So, yeah, CP Tome says, and when the self-induced famines hit, do not give them your food. Man, if I ever have to show up on a short notice in Texas or Idaho or Florida or something, some conservative state, and I get stopped at the border, I'll say, I have an AR-15 and a shovel. I'm willing to shovel. I will do hard manual labor. I will work every day just for the food, and I will never participate in any of your internal electoral things. Ah, well, Bill, you're a conservative. No, no, no. I would just like to eat. So, this thing is going to hit. Road Rider says very because my cough is very worrisome. It's annoying. Road Rider. So when I was a kid, I had bronchitis when I was 15, and for some reason, it damaged that cough sensor. So, uh, even though whenever I have any kind of a cold or anything that gets into my lungs at all, the lungs clear out after 2 days, but that little trigger just stays there, and it just won't go away. Nothing to cough against. I don't need to cough. It's just a it's just that thing. Anyway, and that I went to a doctor about this, and he said it may have something to do with acid reflux too. So we'll see. But thank you for the concern. So anyway, yeah. So reality's striking them, hitting them. Um, the third thing out there, besides the feminists, the trans, and so on, the third thing is the is the uh, body positivity crowd trying to convince you that you must date somebody who's 500 pounds, and if you don't, then you're fat phobic. I guess that's three T-shirts I'm going to have to buy now, right? They really think they've been so conditioned that racism is the worst thing. It could be much worse than being a murderer, right? So they've been told their whole life by these left wing teachers in their entire lives. They've been told being a racist and being a misogynist or being part of the patriarchy is the worst thing you can do. And so they think that other people feel that way too. And so when you hear these 400, 500-pound women talking, mostly women, men as well, but mostly women, talking about this whole thing about fat being unhealthy, it's just invented. It's not true. Body positivity thing is all about the BMI is meaningless. I'm much healthier at 500 pounds than I would be if I went on a diet to get down to 150. Thank you very much, Edward. Appreciate that. They're trying to talk you into dating them, and they think they can talk you into it by accusing you of being fat phobic. And if fat phobic doesn't work, then and I'm watching all this stuff unfolding in real time. Then they will say that being fat phobic is actually based on racism. That it was racism that created this image of a 400, 500-pound person as being something that belongs to black people. Well, I looked at photos of the slaves that were working in the American South prior to their emancipation, and slaves, generally speaking, are not fat people, right? But that's what they're doing is they're walking up their own grievance. They're trying to walk it up to DEFCON 5, right? Okay, They're walking it up to DEFCON 5. If you don't date me, it's because you're a racist. That is the worst thing you can be. That's grounds for cancellation on the spot. If you don't if you don't want to date me because I'm 500 pounds, that's because you're fat phobic. And the reason you're fat phobic is because fat phobia is tied to racism. And so you're not only fat phobic, you're also racist. So there you go. Um, and this is why I keep saying that this is why we just have to we just have to tuck in. We have to just we just have to do that armadillo thing and let this fire. I'm sorry, DEFCON 1. I should have known that day, big buddy. Um, we just tuck up and get in our little reflective blankets and just hunker down and let this fire burn itself out without causing us fatal damage. That's what we have to do. Because this thing is going to hit the wall of reality. Reality is not going to go away. That's my ultimate refuge of sanity is that they cannot talk reality away. Cody Fett says for a super chat, thank you, Cody. Bill, I've seen for years more and more people saying that polygamy is desirable. You might want to write down a note about that for the future when it gets brought up in public. Um, there are people out there on the cutting edge of TikTok, 20-year-olds, with their green hair and grossly overweight, and they are talking about things. There's a word out there that you will probably get more familiar with as the decay accelerates. But that decay, by the way, is not us, and it's not the country. It's not the idea of the country. Government's decaying, half the population's decaying, but the idea of America is not decaying. We still know what hard work is, so don't let that get you down. It's just we're going to have to deal with some gangrenous limbs here. Um, so, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, just let this thing burn out. These people who have convinced themselves that it is perfectly healthy to be 500 pounds are in the same position as the trans people are, and that is that they think that they can guilt us into doing what they want us to do, which is date them while they're 500 pounds. They think that they can guilt us into leaving the seat dividers up on airplanes. They think that they can guilt us into all of those things. And they're in the process of being quite shocked. I really spent a lot of time wondering how could they be so delusional? And then I realized, when have they ever been told no? When has anyone ever said no? They've never been told no, ever. So now reality is telling them no. Nope, not going to happen. You're up against the biological wall now, right? You are up against the biological wall, and you cannot talk reality away as much as you wish, and as much as you've been able to get your way by threatening and stomping and calling people bad names, and you're a racist if you disagree with me, and that's the whole political correctness thing, the whole woke thing. Okay, yes, you've accomplished an awful lot of destruction, and it's led you to believe that you can talk your way out of reality, but you can't. And this is why I am, in the long term, confident, because we are a reality-based philosophy. I remember when they used that term reality-based community because they thought religion meant that everybody was, just walking around delusional. Turns out that people with religion apparently are much, much, much better adapted to live in this world from an evolutionary point of view. If you want to go down that road, at least, yes. So, so reality is there. It's not like reality's coming. It's that they're heading down a road where everything has gotten out of their way, and now they're going to hit something that's not going to get out of their way. They are not going to find heterosexual straight men that want to date and marry biological males that have had extensive surgery and hormone replacement. They're never going to find that. They will find a small, small, small percentage of fetishists, but generally speaking, look, if you're gay, you have cut your it's 4 or 5% of the population. Let's say it's five. Just give it to them. If you're gay, 19 out of the 20 people that you find attractive are not going to be attracted to you. That's just that's just the numbers, right? That's the numbers. That's why gay communities are so cohesive and tight, and that's why gay bars are what they are, and why gay neighborhoods like West Hollywood are what they are. These are people who are in an enormous minority in terms of what they want out of life, and so they stick together in large numbers, and they make up in concentration what they lack in natural, distribution. Eric Gott says, I'm not fat phobic. I identify as skinny sexual. I'm only attracted to fit women. You're oppressing me because of my sexuality. That's exactly the way to go for the interim period. Yes. That's exactly how to deal with it now. My pronouns are F and U. Um, but so if you're gay, you're looking at 1 out of 20 potential partners. If you're trans and you want a heterosexual partner after your transition, your percentages in the population have to be, I would say, 1,000th of 1% or even less. Nobody wants this. If you are a if you are a biological male with X and Y chromosomes and you go through all of these procedures and use all of this medical technology and you do all of these things, and you end up where you think you're going to be happy, you are not going to get what you want. And you can't talk people into it. I guess I've beat this into the earth by now. Brendan Allen, thank you for a $50 super chat. Bill, when are you going to get your own tab on DW, Daily Wire Plus? I don't know. Pretty soon, I guess. I think I mentioned on Monday night's show, I've got, I'm on the fourth script now, and I saw the rough cut for the second episode, and they did an incredible job, the set and the costuming and all this other stuff. So the whole opening of the Cold War, not of the new series, of the Cold War, it's getting produced and getting ready to go out the door. The whole opening is me in a 19 late 50s office. I've got a rotary phone, I've got a scotch and a cigarette and an ashtray, and I've got an AM FM radio, and I've got what to do in case of a fallout posters on the wall. And so they put together a really great montage. These guys are very, very talented. And I'm looking at this opening montage, and it's like, you start the thing, it's written and presented by Bill Whittle, produced by so-and-so, executive producer so-and-so, edited and so-and-so and so-and-so. And I finally just called him, wrote him an email, and said, guys, I never really had to deal with this before, but I got to tell you, I think my credit's just getting buried here. I'd like to have written and presented by Bill Whittle on the title card. They said, no problem. What scotch? It probably wasn't even scotch. It was probably just iced tea. That's how props work. And so they said, yeah, okay, great, no problem. So to answer your question, when I get my own tab on Daily Wire, I assume it's going to be pretty soon. I would hope. And they've done an amazing job with that. Thank you for the super chat, Marky Mint. Pointing up to something. We're number one, I guess. If there was something you're pointing to, just let me know. Anyway, let's see if we can. I thought we'd do nothing but these questions and run out of time, but obviously I'm going to find a way to spend 2 hours talking about one issue. Wayne Piercy. In my opinion, I think we should have a closer look at past events that led to current Communist Party to be so confident that they could get away with anything. Great point. I think one of those events is exactly what happened in Mena, Arizona. Did that event actually lead to Bill Clinton becoming president? I don't know what happened in Mena, Arizona. If anybody does, I'd like to hear it. But in my mind, it's clear to me on much reflection that this problem didn't begin with Obama the way I thought it had. This problem began with the Clintons. This is when things started to really that's when things really started to rot. Uh, I don't know where did I put that other comment thing? Oh, there we go. Sorry. It's the Clintons, um, and we knew it going into it. Mena, Arkansas. Oh, I said Arizona. Might have said Mena. Mena. What happened? Uh, let's see. Um, I'm sure it's something that the Clintons did, um, and and it's not like we didn't know, right? I remember the election very well because I voted for him, and I voted for him because I was an idiot who was pretty sure I had everything all figured out. Um, and that's something I have to carry around with me for a while. Um, Deep says it's ironic how people obsessed with population control are also the people who say it's bad to fat shame. Yeah, yeah, and trans shame and all the rest of it. Um, I'm still trying to figure out what the Mina thing was because I haven't heard that story. In any event, um, in 1992, we knew it was Slick Willie, right? And people who had dealt with him in Arizona were saying this guy's nothing but a lying sack of crap, and his wife is psychotic. And did that hit the news for me to make my decision when I was voting for him? No, it did not. This is something I found out after I red pilled myself and started looking at other opinions than the ones I was getting from the mainstream media and all of my friends who were in the theater department who were also passionate about things they know nothing about. Um, Justin Wisted said it started with Woodrow Wilson. You could actually make an extremely good case that's you can make a very good case for Wilson. Very good case. So I said Arizona must be Arkansas because uh, he's in there. I remember I've been to Arkansas once. I remember landing at Bill and Hillary Clinton International Airport, and I thought, I guess the liberals feel the same way about Reagan, but the difference between Reagan and Clinton is that Reagan was a magnificent man and good man and loved this country, and Bill Clinton's a shyster and a teenage porn addict. Um, so I'm still looking for what actually happened there, but uh, if somebody can give me a quick, uh, you know, capsule version of it, that'd be great. Yeah, they're nuts, and they're little things. Sometimes the little things are really telling. Sometimes it's the little things that are the most telling. For instance, I didn't know until several years ago, well into this line of work, when I found out that Bill had proposed to Hillary 3 times, and she turned him down twice, and that she only agreed to marry him after he bought the house that she was really, really interested in. I find that like really revealing. When I heard that, I thought, wow, I don't know which one. I don't know which one I find more disgusting and degrading. The fact that you would buy a house to get somebody to marry you, or the fact that you would marry somebody that's already asked you twice because they bought this house. But how cynical do you have to be? You know, how cynical do you have to be? Uh, they're operators, right? They're not. They're not. They are both sociopaths. They are pathological narcissists. Trump is a pathological narcissist, but he's not a sociopath. That's what makes him unique among the current crop of leaders. And Reagan was neither, because Reagan could laugh at himself, and people who can laugh at themselves they're not nuts. They're ambitious or they're driven or whatever, but they're not narcissists. Narcissists cannot laugh at themselves. Obama's a narcissist. The Clintons are narcissists. Trump is a narcissist. But Trump is not a sociopath. He doesn't Trump doesn't go through life thinking that people are just props for him. He seems to really care about the country and about the people. That's why people love him so much. And that's why so many people, myself included, tolerate the narcissism, because we know that underneath it is genuinely good intentions. It seems to me to be the case anyway. Um, that's how I look at it. Yes, we've been talking about that monk in training, just another fit 54-year-old who just happened to have a heart attack and died. Guys like Fauci and Biden and all the rest of this stuff are riding on a thin layer of oil that is allowing them to slide past law and past reckoning. And Hillary will probably die before justice is served to her, although I cannot imagine anything that would have hurt Hillary Clinton more than losing to Donald Trump. That's something I get some Schadenfreude out of. Um, yeah, and Eric Blake says he agrees with me. He says Trump's a narcissist who actually cares, a rare combination and a valuable one. The narcissism gives him a massive confidence boost that he can and will get it done, and it also means that Trump is he's too narcissistic to care what other people say about him, and now that's a positive quality. You know, he's not thick-skinned, by the way. Right? There are people who are thick-skinned. People you could just say Reagan was thick-skinned. You could say anything you wanted to about Reagan, and they did, and just bounced off him because he didn't care. He knew who he was. People go after Trump. It gets to Trump. It needles him, and it affects him. But he's not a sociopath. He knows that people have lives, and having spent the last 3 months of my life or more now, probably 4 or 5 months of my life living in the Soviet Union during the Russian Revolution and inside gulags and execution chambers, the entire communistic idea is mass sociopathy. The people are not people. They're just simply rounds of ammunition. They're problems. They're just it is a psychopathic, sociopathic belief system. And the people who are attracted to it manage to overlook that, and that tells me something about those people. You know, I'm going to wave the Soviet flag. You killed 20 million of your own people. That was Stalin didn't do it right. What allows you to overlook that? If you know what allows you to overlook that? What is it about this that you need so much? Well, envy and laziness. Those are powerful motivators. So anyway, let's see what we got. Steve Deese says, this is Lutheran Carnivore says, Steve Deese is right that we should have a Nuremberg 2.0 trials for COVID tyrants. And we will. We will. That tipping point is going to occur, and eventually you won't be able to hide all the bodies. Um, and that's our ultimate hope. It's a pretty forlorn hope, isn't it? You know, the reason people like us put up with, go and fight all these battles against these people, and the reason we get called all these names and deplatformed and censored, and insulted and slandered and libeled, all this stuff, is to prevent these people from getting what they want, because we know what that will bring and they don't. And so if it turns out that, and it's starting to look like there's no way to change their mind, then the only thing that will change their mind is when their internal pain level rises to the point where they actually have to start re-examining their lives. And that means finding yourself at 50 years old, unmarried, a single woman with no one to take care of you and no one to take care of. And that means being trans for 5 years and not being happy, being much more miserable, feeling like you've now completely, utterly been put on an island that you cannot escape from. And fat people who are convinced that they can talk people into finding them attractive. And that's not to say there aren't some attractive fat people, but these aren't them. These are just nothing but whiners and complainers. So all of this is going to catch up with us, and it's going to get ugly. And that's why we have to just kind of, we have to stick together, and we have to understand that the fire that's going on around us is not going to consume us. It's going to burn us. It's going to make us uncomfortable, but it's not going to kill us. We will survive this as long as we stick together. And by stick together, I mean maintain our sanity and not abandon hope in the American idea or the ideas that America is based on. We just simply understand that America has been too successful for its own good, and this is the pathology that results from it, and that's all going to have to go, and and that's it. Bart's Treasure says, Bill, does that mean you have to wait for millions of people to die for reality to set in? Yeah, I think that's what it means. I hope it doesn't mean that number, but I think that's what it means. Rod Stewart's 11-year-old boy had a heart attack at a soccer game a couple months ago or a month ago, and of course, after a day or two, there was immediate walk back saying, no, 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 he didn't have a heart attack, he had a panic attack. He's excitable boy had a panic attack. Apparently, he had the kind of panic attack put him on the ground and turned his face blue. But okay, so Rod Stewart was already a big pusher of the jab, and it makes me wonder if he's changed his mind once his 11-year-old had a heart attack. Because I'm 63 and I have never heard of an 11-year-old having a heart attack. In fact, prior to the recent completely unrelated surge in unexplained deaths, I can remember in the course of my 5 decades of being aware of the news, I can probably think of one or two people in 50 years who just plain died young for some reason. The guy's heart exploded or whatever. Um, so um, I guess that's what it's going to take. Uh, and I don't know. I don't know. I have to be careful now because I'd frankly like to keep talking to you guys. So once again, we will refer to the Victrolas, the people that bought the Victrola. If you haven't figured out what that means yet, I'm sure if you break it down into phonics, you'll figure out what I'm talking about. So basically, the government said you are going to have to go out and buy a Victrola. Everybody in the country is going to be essentially practically required by law to buy a Victrola. Not quite, but almost. You won't be able to travel unless you have a Victrola. You won't be able to keep your job unless you have a Victrola. If you're in the military, you'll have to go buy a Victrola or else you won't be able to stay in the military. So everything short of mandatory lining people up and handing them Victrolas, which I think would have been enough to trigger the Second Amendment. If that's what if they were really just going from house to house and insisting on that, then I think they realized that wasn't going to fly. They didn't have to. I have a lot of friends who bought Victrolas. Many of them had no idea what. Look, I was 3 days out from buying a Victrola for myself and my wife. 3 days, and my friend Courtney Turner, who's been deplatformed completely over this, and vilified and all the rest of it, happened to call me and say, I need to talk to you about this before you do this. Promise me we'll talk before you do that. I said, okay, sure. Come on by tomorrow. So she came on by, sat here in the studio with me, we talked for an hour. She said, Bill, this stuff alters your DNA. I said, Courtney, come on. She's the smartest person I know in terms of medical knowledge. She and Bobby are bright people. And she said, Bill, you don't want to do this. It's going to alter your DNA. And I just sneered. I said, Courtney, you know as well as I do that that's not what vaccines do. You know as well as I do that vaccines don't do that. She says, right. It's not a Victrola. Really? Yes. It's rewriting your records, your internal records, and changing them so that it produces more Victrolas, essentially, and your body becomes a Victrola factory. Really? Yep. And it's permanent? Yep. It's inheritable. Okay. And then all the things that didn't seem to make sense suddenly make sense. I remember when somebody had pointed out blew a whistle. Nobody listened. Somebody had pointed out, they did screen grabs to show it, that the Center for Disease Control had changed the definition of what a Victrola was from something that is a serum that provides immunity to something that is a serum that produces an immune response. And if I get a splinter in my finger, that is also producing an immune response. Um, so, uh, so yeah, uh, once again, Lutheran Carnivore is stepping up to the plate here. He says Ron Johnson and Senator Ron Johnson and Governor DeSantis are lone voices in the wilderness in this. Certainly, they're the look. DeSantis, I, look, I don't want this to happen, and I don't know what's going to happen. I do know that it's a little bit much to expect to believe that the number one cause of death in Alberta, Canada, is unexplained and has been for 2 years and was never in the top 30 before. It's quite a coincidence. Um, so I don't know how bad this is going to get. I don't know if this is the beginning of a wave or whether it's just the peak of a wave. I don't know whether this is something that's going to continue to grow like a bell curve, because that's how everything in the world works. Everything is a bell curve. Everything is a bell curve. I don't know if the front end of the bell curve was so small. This may be the peak of the bell curve. I kind of hope it is. But if it's not, then we're dealing with, uh, you know, we're dealing with crimes on a level so far that doesn't even put him in the top five, but conceivably could break all the records. I don't know. So I will say, because Eric Blake said it's no coincidence that the left censored hydroxy thing, the hydroxy thing and the Ivor thing. Um, they censored them. They basically made them unavailable, took them off the shelves. When Tasha and I got COVID a year ago, we had well, we were Victrola-less people. We just couldn't afford the Victrola. So we had talked to our doctor, and he had said, if you get sick, just give me a call. If you get sick, get tested right away. If it comes back positive, don't do what they tell you to do. Don't go home and just rest. It's just giving the virus time to multiply. If that happens, come to me, and I'll set you up with some simple antivirals, and you'll have a mild to moderate cold for 4 or 5 days. So that's exactly what happened. Only when we called him, he said, let me get back to you. And he tried 20 pharmacies throughout the state, and it wasn't available. This formerly um, bountiful, inexpensive drug couldn't be bought for love or money. So we ended up getting the gold standard of Victrolas. And we paid for it because that was as sick as I've ever been. Um, so I don't know where it's going to go from here. If the theory behind Alberta's unexplained deaths being number one cause of death in Alberta, Canada, if the theory that I'm operating on is true, then the mechanics of that theory seem to indicate that this would get worse and worse over time. I hope not. Hey, Phil. National public emergency for COVID extended yesterday. Was it ever reduced? Were we ever not in a national public emergency? Of course, they've extended it. By the way, um, uh, Phil was the one who pointed out to me, and I'm sorry I didn't answer you about this, but I've just been kind of in the weeds here. Um, I had seen a aviation accident report, and it described a NOTAM. That's a common term for pilots. NOTAM is a notice to airmen. That's what NOTAM stands for. And I heard some guy talking about this a couple days ago. And he said, anyway, they issued a notice, which stands for Notice to Air Mission. And I thought, that guy doesn't talk on the aviation channel. He doesn't even know what a NOTAM is. And then Phil told me, no, it's been changed. It's been changed. It's no longer a notice to airmen. Now it's a notice to air mission. So you don't want to change the acronym because everybody knows what a NOTAM is. But apparently, notice to airmen is exclusionary and hateful. So, so it's now a notice to air mission. At least we still get to say NOTAM. If somebody in aviation can explain to me one change, it's not related to anything we just talked about, but if anybody can explain the reason for this, there was an instruction, common instruction in general aviation, virtually routinely, whatever. I'm going to let that through there, Mr. Tomes, because what the hell? Again, this is not related to, I don't think it's related to the woke insanity. But one of my favorite radio calls as a private pilot, you would, when you're in a run-up area, which is off close to where you get on the runway to depart, area off to the side. You don't do this in jets because jets have essentially one moving part per engine, but in internal combustion engines, you don't. So prior to taking off in a conventionally powered airplane, you taxi off to the side. Well, if you want to live, if you want to survive the experience and be an old pilot, you taxi off to the side, and it's a open, clear area for this, and there's usually plenty of room under there. Although sometimes you have to get in there pretty tight. And you go off the side and you do what's called the run-up. And basically what you do is you stand on the brakes and you take the engine up to probably 80-90% total power, and you're looking for any kind of hiccups, and then you take one of the dual electronic systems offline, and it's working a little less efficiently. You turn it back on again, and you take the other one off, and it goes down a little bit and comes back up again. If it drops too much, you got a bad electronic system, you should go back to the hangar. This is called the run-up. And we did that every flight. So you would finish with the run-up, and then you would taxi to the hold short line. Now, that hold short line is actually a laser force field that will slice right through you, because if you put the nose of your airplane over that line, you will hear about it. That hold short line is, and rightfully so, the most important marker on the airport. Nobody crosses that line without permission. Nobody gets into that without permission. And so the request for that when you're ready to go is you'd be behind the hold short line, and you would say, Van Nuys Tower, along easy 6 Delta Bravo, we're holding short 16 right, full length, ready to go. And if there was no traffic in the way, you would say 16 Bravo, whatever, clear for takeoff, and you just roll around and go. But oftentimes there would be departing traffic and no approaching traffic, so you would get the call, 16 Bravo, okay, taxi into position and hold, which usually came down to position and hold. And I'd just read it right back. Okay, position and hold for 16 Bravo. That meant taxi into position and hold. You taxi into position, you line up on the runway, and you hold. He's got something out there in front of you. There's nothing behind you, because he wouldn't put you on the runway if there was something behind you, but there's nothing in front of you. There's something in front of you that he's waiting for to happen, and so he's speeding things up by getting you in the chamber. It's like chambering around. That's a really good way to think about it. Chambering around. So now you're in the chamber, you're ready to go. Position hold, 16 Bravo. And then it changed. Now it's line up and wait. And I thought, damn it. This happened 6-7 years ago, because it was like, all right, you could say that with a pilot voice. You could sound pretty cool. Roger, position hold, 16 Bravo. Now it's like line up and wait. Line up and wait is what communists do to buy bread. Line up and wait is not an aviation command. And when that became mandatory, I was really pretty upset about that. It's like, what position and hold is now line up and wait? Yep, line up and wait. I have heard that was due to foreign pilots who are training everybody who wants to fly, learns to fly in America. If you want to learn to fly and you live in Switzerland, or you live in anywhere, it's much cheaper to come to America for several months, rent an apartment, and fly here, because the flying rates and instruction rates overseas are crazy. And I'd heard that it was a lot of foreign pilots who just couldn't handle position and hold, to which I want to reply, well, then you probably shouldn't be flying, because position and hold is pretty clear. No, no, line up and wait. So now we line up and wait. Just every time I hear line up and wait, I think of some babushka with a couple of big canvas bags standing out in the snow, waiting to see if there's going to be any bread when she gets to the end. Line up and wait. Good God, it's awful. That's a little rant I had to do with. We got a couple of super chats here, both from Monk and Training. One of them is Joe Rogan had a guest that said China and Russia are both hitting population bombs and will die out in 15 to 20 years. Continued. I think the CIA helped the Victrola to get out and spread the rot. America is the only country of the three resilient enough to survive. Sun Tzu says the mark of excellence is to win a war without battle. Yeah, you could certainly make that case, Monk. Coconut 85 said you can thank the ICAO for that. Was the International Communist Aviation Organization or whatever that stands for? Line up and wait. Pathetic. Pathetic. I've wanted to test that, but why am I gonna give the controller grief? The controller didn't do it. Uh, I'm tempted to say, okay, position hold. Sorry, line up and wait for 26 Bravo. Line up and wait. It's the little things. All right, let's see what else we got. Um, anyway, yeah, so Lisa Marie, dead at age 54. Lisa Marie Presley. Stand in line. Phil says, stand in line after you run to where you ran to. Exactly. Yeah, hurry up and wait. That's the military. Run over here and then stop. Um, I don't know why that bothers me as much as it does that line up and wait thing. Um, because Eric says it's line up and hold. It's not line up and hold. It's line up and wait. I could live with line up and hold. That's right. CP Tomes has got it. In the Republic of Bill, it'll be back to position and hold. That's exactly right. It will be back to position and hold. It's going to say position and hold on in big freaking letters across every single control tower in the land. Position and wait. Line up and hold. God, that's what communists do. Ridiculous. Okay. Marky Mint is having a problem with the Victrola. Uh, so let's see if I can do this for you here, Mark. Um, there are some things on YouTube that if you talk about, you get pulled. And one of the things that you talk about is a word that begins with V, and that word is Victrola. Uh, if I use the word Victrola, that might or might not stand for some other word beginning with V, then I seem to be able to get away with it. So that's why I talk about people buying Victrolas, because in a free country I wouldn't have to do that. But we don't live in a free country. Certainly, we're not on free property anyway at YouTube. So it's just a little way of doing what other people in totalitarian states do: learn how to say the truth without getting caught. Yes, I know Victrola is a phonograph. I'm fully aware of what a Victrola is, but I'm using the word Victrola for a stand-in for another V word, and I think you pretty much get it. I don't. I think I was the person. I've never heard anyone else use it. I just liked it. I just thought it was okay. Everybody gets it. And the reason I went with Victrola instead of vacuum is because you can actually have a vacuum. Nobody has a Victrola, so you get the idea. Um, all right, let's see what we got here back on questions here. Eric Blake, we've got two of them. Hooray! Quick question, Bill. Take your time, Eric. Got nothing but time tonight. The McCarthy-led House has included in its agenda a ban on all congressional insider trading. Frankly, if I recall correctly, all congressional stock trading, period. Honestly, it's a long time coming, ending a big rules for thee but not for me, but I got to ask, could the real problem be how Congress banned insider trading in the first place? Why should it be illegal for a private investor to trade on information they had that happens not to be public? Isn't that just like forcing great runners to slow so that everyone has a chance? That's an interesting argument, and I actually thought about that, Eric. It's like, okay, well, you work for a company, you got information, take advantage of it, get rich. Kisama, I'm sorry, Kisama 001, thanks for the super chat, says line up and wait bothers you because it's another erosion of tradition. It is. It's an erosion. I don't I don't have any problem with change. When change is positive, I'm right there. If you had told me 6 years ago, 7 years ago that we would recover rockets, I was a space plane guy. I thought you're out of your mind. And now I look at this and it's like the fairings on the last mission. Literally the least expensive thing on the vehicle. In fact, it is by orders. I'll bet by an order of magnitude or 2 orders of magnitude, the least expensive part of the vehicle is this thin aluminum shroud that basically covers the satellite. So while it's going through the atmosphere, it's protected. So they're not only recovering all of the rocket, they're recovering the frickin' fairings. And I realize that is why he's succeeding, because he has a commitment to it it's not an engineering box to tick, it's an ideal. It's an ideal. And when I found out that he was recovering these fairings and the last mission had flown one fairing had flown 6 times, another one had flown 8 times, you could certainly afford to replace the fairings. They're not terribly complex things. They're essentially just sheet aluminum with a couple of ribs in them, right? But the fact that they're recovering them is telling me he means it. And a good example of this is, whoa, Astronerd for the win here, I think won the internet for the night. He said also, a Victrola has a needle. I had not thought of that. So, famous story about this kind of thing is that when Lindbergh was getting ready to do the solo flight across the Atlantic in the Spirit of St. Louis, his enemy was weight. Anything that weighed something was stuff that he could have had fuel. The plane can only lift so much. In fact, if you ever watch the takeoff footage of the Spirit of St. Louis, he runs the length of the field, and it's a long field, and he clears a hedge by about 3 feet. That plane barely got off the ground. But every second the engine's running, it's getting lighter and lighter and lighter because it's burning fuel. So anyway, he knew he had to carry as much fuel as he could. And that meant that since the plane can only lift so much weight, anything that wasn't fuel, he had to get down to the bare bones minimum. And what Lindbergh did was he took his aviation charts, which are, big old charts like this, have a little white border about that wide around the outside edge, like any other printed thing. It's got a little white border. He cut those borders off. He cut them off to save weight. And you think, what's that, an ounce, maybe 2 ounces? Yes, exactly. It's an ounce or two. But that attitude went across everything. And that's why he did what he did. That's why he did what he did. So I'm not against change at all. I think change is wonderful. I'm just against change that gets worse. And line up and wait is worse than position and hold. So I'm against it. If they'd said something cooler like that, like cooler than position and hold, like, let me think here. This is something like line her up and run them up, or if they said something like something really cool, something like kind of like Thunderbirds or Go kind of thing, where you're on the launch rail, something like that. That would have been awesome. I would have been in favor of it. But no, you're absolutely right. It's because it's just made things worse. CP Tome says someone said throw it up in the air. If it comes down, it's too heavy to put on an airplane. That person was Burt Rutan. That's a famous statement of Burt Rutan's. He said, if you're building an airplane, a simple way to test if the part is too heavy is to throw it in the air. If it comes back down again, it's too heavy. And Errol Burns says, watch the ounces and the pounds will take care of themselves. Exactly. So, all right. Let's see. We got back to Eric's question. I don't think we got through that. I don't remember. We blocked it out. Oh, yes. So the insider trading thing. So the reason that insider trading is a crime and should be a crime, in my opinion, is because there is essentially a hold period. You have information that is not accessible to other people. If that information was accessible to anybody, then it would be simply a question of who got the information first. But it's not an even playing field. It's not like anybody can get that information. You have information in advance of what something is going to do in the market. and you have knowledge of either legislation or some maybe some hidden big negatives that are going to come cause this thing to be worth a lot less than other people think it is, and that information is privileged information that you have, and so insider trading is in fact not fair. It's not a question of everybody just work to your maximum potential. It is a genuine case of I'm all about starting from the same starting line. That's equality of opportunity. Everybody starts behind the same starting line. But insider trading starts you 40 yards down the patch. And I'm again that. So there you go. Let's see what we got here. Eric Blake again. Hey. Hail Vectron Citizen Whittle. By Vectron's Golden Claw, may our side's pundits learn all the right lessons and renounce the wrong ones. Amen. So I'm frankly astonished, Bill, at the pundits and analysts on our side, including Daily Wire, who are presuming to blame the midterm disappointments on Trump, Trump, Trump. They keep talking about the failed endorsements, but they're completely leaving out that his endorsement record this year is 200 plus wins and a handful of losses. I don't know about you, but that's a percentage in the high 90s. And lest we forget, McConnell denied funding or support for certain key Senate races and dumped said money to the coffers of Lisa Murkowski. And I can barely hear a peep from these pundits about his role in these failures and questions. So why else does this focus on Trump's fault when pretty much shrugging off McConnell's sins, to say nothing about voting integrity issues, been my sweet summer child? I think that there are a number of people who are Trump supporters who are Trump supporters by necessity, and I think their threshold is lower. uh, I'll give you an example. Um, 2 days before whatever the election, 2 or 3 days before, Trump called DeSantis sanctimonious, and that lowered my opinion of Trump. Didn't lower my opinion to the point where I blamed him for everything, but that was your good night, Rich. That was I just didn't see any reason for that. Um, and and so a lot of people, I guess, are look. A lot of people just would rather see DeSantis run, and I personally think this I think there's no question he'd do a better job in office. I don't know whether he could generate the kind of support that Trump does. On the other hand, his negatives are not nearly so high, so he probably could. I think DeSantis, if he ran, he could win. I don't see any world where DeSantis and Trump run at the same time. I just don't see it. I think, yeah, exactly right. Eric Gotts is a violation of the 11th commandment. Right on. Um, but I don't know why he would do something like that. Now, when I got into the backstory, apparently Trump felt betrayed by DeSantis because he basically Trump's popularity pulled DeSantis over the line when Trump backed him before, and and apparently DeSantis didn't show enough deference in Trump's opinion, and all this stuff is to me incredibly childish. But um, nevertheless, there it is. Let me go back and look at that question again. Oh, so why do people pick on Trump? Um, I don't know the actual answer to this question, but for instance, a lot of people complained when he backed Dr. Oz. Okay, I I didn't know much about that one way or another, and this is a serious question. I just don't know the answer to it. If somebody can help me with this would be great. Um, did did Trump encourage Oz to run, or did he simply back Oz once Oz had decided to run? Uh, Herschel Walker ended up not being such a great candidate too. But what look what seems to have happened, and I'm not counting Arizona. Uh, in fact, we're at the point now where nobody really knows what actually happened. That's what mail-in voting will do for you. But um, give me a second here. I'll figure out how I want to put this. Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to say is if the results can be taken on a national scale as more or less accurate, uh, then the left showed up in a big way, the way that we did after Obama's first term. It wasn't enough to let them keep the House, but they showed up a lot more. And the anecdotal stories, the story on the word on the street is they showed up over the abortion issue, which didn't seem like was going to happen because it wasn't really on the radar. It didn't seem like in polling it was making that much of a difference. But I never really judge success or failures in elections by what the other side does. I always judge it by what our side does, right? Certainly, a number um, of people uh, didn't show up. Conservatives. I don't know whether they thought, well, okay, they got Roe overturned, so what's the point? But certainly, we didn't get the turnout that I thought we were going to get, and I was disappointed. Everyone was disappointed. And the only answer I have to that is, okay, the beatings will continue until morale improves. That's the only thing you can take away from this is that the beatings are going to have to continue until morale improves. It wasn't so it wasn't so painful yet that people were not able to get over their buying. I'm going to buy the brand. Now Clint B says abortion. No, it's the mail-in ballots. Look, I completely agree that I don't. I prefaced by what I said by saying nobody knows, but the mail-in ballots are everything. And McConnell is is a catastrophe. These people, it's not like speculation. I have people who were in the room who heard Mitch McConnell and Mitt Romney and all these other people saying they would much rather see Hillary Clinton president than Donald Trump. It's just really uh, it's so obvious. It's kind of shocking. All right, here's a question. Here's a request I cannot ignore. Um, uh, Dave Malton says, "Bill, go pet your Gorn's head. I want to see how big it is." That seems like a reasonable request. So hang on a second. He's actually a good deal taller than me. So I see you with your gleaming diamond eyes, you miserable humanoid reptilian. Um, Thank you, Alpha Cat. Uh, so anyway, that's that. Yeah, these webcams have a fairly distorting kind of lens there. All right. I think we got all the comments on on Facebook for a change, and we did not have a post on the website, so I'm going to have to add one of those, I guess. And I think, given the 2x4 in the face I took earlier today, I think I'm probably just going to go home at this point. So I think that'll do it. Um, we will be back again on Monday, and I think, and when I say I think, I mean we're not going anywhere. We may have to reschedule, but you never know. In any event, I'm hoping to be here on Monday. Expect to be here on Monday. What happens to last week's questions not answered? Didn't get to them. I just got to the because we didn't have a new thing, so I had to do that and blah blah blah, and so yeah, you know, we do what we can. Um, it's just best way to think about questions uh, is I'm standing next to a raging flood and I've got a rope and there's a bunch of people getting washed away and I throw out the rope and I catch as many people as I can catch, but I can't catch everybody, and often I can't catch most of them. I'm just afraid that's how it goes. Eric Gott says, Bill, you should at least consider going on Tim's show. I would love to go on Tim's show. I think Tim is awesome. I expect, frankly, on this subject, because this has come up a lot, I expect that when I finally get this new series ready, and conceivably for when the Cold War drops, but certainly for the new one, that the good people over at Daily Wire will use some of their astonishing muscle and get me on everybody, conceivably on the Joe Rogan show too. I haven't talked to anybody about that. That's just me speculating, but I think this new series is really, really, really well written, and it's going to be very well produced, and yeah. So um, okay, that'll do it. The show's made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com. We're constantly grateful. I don't know if we're going to do a heavy Falcon Heavy live stream. I'd like that to become. I'd like to think it's so routine now that I don't know. I'll see. Um, in any event, yeah, the show's made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com, and and to those people, we're very, very grateful. And to the rest of you, you can go pound sand. Now, we're grateful to all of you. Anybody who sits and watches this, better man than I am. I find that these full length episodes are useful for people who are having trouble sleeping or might, for some reason, need to be put into a medically induced coma and have some kind of bad reaction to opioids or whatever. So it's not that they don't have any place at all. Okay. I will see you guys presumably on Tuesday, and if not, I'll see you here next Thursday. But Monday, rather. I'm sure I'll be here Monday. I fully expect to be here Monday. I'm not going anywhere. I'm sitting here writing until I drop. So until we get these things out the door. Thanks again for joining us. And oh, Dwayne Case with a rating party of 37. What a terrible pity. We're just closing the doors now. Just sorry. Now I know it's 3 minutes to midnight, but I'm sorry. We just have to. We got bar backing to do. We gotta do the catch up and all that other stuff. So I'm afraid we're closed. All right. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon. Where's that damn button? Oh, there it is.